those who continue to succeed, in the back of their head, they always feel like there's always more to learn, and it's like, of course, we know a lot from what we've learned and what we've gone through in our individual journeys. But if you have the mentality of like, I know it all, I don't need to learn anymore, well, you're going to fall behind, especially now in the world that we live in, with everything is faster, everything's more up to date, more research, more experimenting. There's just more. And if you don't learn, you're going to fall behind. So I think it's like you always, in a way, have to have the mentality of like, well, I don't know it all. And yeah, I want to put myself in a room where I feel like I don't know much, because then you're going to sit back and actually learn from everybody who knows what's going on now. And you can start absorbing that information for yourself, for your clients, and for, your audience, anybody else out there that can use it. So for me, that's the mentality I feel like most people need to carry if they want to be successful.
Hey guys, welcome back to the SpecTalk Podcast. This is the podcast geared toward entrepreneurs, executive athletes, and high-level thinkers who want the 1% better every day and the strategies to get there. I am fortunate enough to be able to bring you guests, so we're going to have an amazing conversation. The guest today is none other than trainer and mentor extraordinaire Anthony Mendez. A little brief history. I've been in Miami 4 years now as of 2023, and he is born and raised in Miami all his life in the fitness industry for about 13 years now. And we're going to have an amazing conversation today with respect to just training in general, what it's like to be a trainer in Miami, but now as our careers morph over the years. As a 23-year professional, I have a lot that I still have to learn, especially in the online space and now, as you see, in podcasting. But I think it's so valuable when you have an opportunity to collaborate with people, bring out important topics that not only help fitness enthusiasts get to the next level, but also other entrepreneurs, executives, and trainers like myself who just want the next best thing and want to be able to pursue our careers. So welcome, Anthony Mendez.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me on here. And I got to say, it's been a minute. It's so exciting to reconnect and be able to, provide as much value as I can to your audience and, to everybody listening. So I'm excited for this.
I'm really excited because this takes me back to when I moved here in June of 2018. I was like on a mission. I had so much energy, and I was like in pursuit of a competition that year. So I was like super fit and super cardiovascularly ready to run all over the place. And I was motivated to literally meet on Instagram as many people. So I was searching keywords like fitness, Miami, events. And of course, you had an extensive following 4 years ago, even more so, or more so now, but you had still an extensive following. I'm like, this guy looks cool. This power of social media. I'm sure we'll talk about that too. But the best part about it was when I messaged you, you were like a real person. So with all of like the brand sponsorships that you had and the collaborative posts and events that you did, you were still a human being. So we ended up, for the people watching, connecting on Instagram, ended up going into a venture that we've kind of put to the side for now. So we became a little closer with that, with some mutual friends and business partners. But now, having gone still in the fitness industry, I admire your path, and I'm so excited to talk about that today. And of course, learn and share knowledge. So first question is about Miami. You were born and raised here, and you got into fitness. At what point in your life? How old were you when you got into fitness?
Wow. So takes me going back, because I'm like, wow, because it's back in the Bali days. Remember when Bali existed?
I worked there in Pennsylvania, though.
So back in Bali's, I was there for a year, but it actually started because my mom was a step aerobics instructor for 24 years. So she got me into Bali's as my first personal training job. And it was during that time It was like
the 90s.
I'm sorry?
This is like the 90s.
When it started?
Yeah, like late 90s was Bally's.
Well, yeah, early 90s. I think it was late 80s, it was Scandinavia, and then it got into the 90s, it became Bally's. So I remember something like that my mom was explaining to me. I know it went through like one or two switches, but it's been around for a long time.
And now I think they're gone, right?
I think there's like a few locations, maybe. I think there's one in New York, like a Bally's, like a sports club version.
Yeah.
There's maybe food, but now they're doing media.
Oh.
Bally Sports, which I was like, interesting. So, the brand still exists.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So
I have to get caught up with that, because I remember teaching step aerobics in a carpeted studio, which is like not up to code. And I was in college at the time, so like I would get up from going to a party on Saturday night to Sunday teaching step aerobics when no other fitness professional wanted to be around and doing that. But yeah, so you got involved because your mom got you.
She got me connected.
Yeah.
It was my first job. Really, the only thing I had under my belt was sports experience from playing sports all my life, and I had taken two weightlifting classes in high school, and I had a sports medicine class I took. That's the only closest thing I had to having experience. And then when I got thrown in there, I was like, all right, what's going on? I'm around all these trainers. Everybody's doing X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, okay, I thought I knew. I don't know.
Do you still feel that way? Like, I mean, I'm 42 now. I've been in coaching in the fitness industry officially since 1999, but all through high school, I was researching how to make myself stronger for tennis and how to weight lift. And I had an affinity toward it, but officially with my first certification in 1999. And I'm still like 23, 24 years later, I'm like, God, I don't know anything. Like, do you feel like you still look at stuff and like, oh.
All the time. And I feel like those who continue to succeed, in the back of their head, they always feel like there's always more to learn. And it's like, of course, we know a lot from what we've learned and what we've gone through in our individual journeys. But if you have the mentality of like, I know it all, I don't need to learn anymore, well, you're going to fall behind, especially now in the world that we live in, with everything is faster, everything's more up to date, more research, more experimenting. There's just more. And if you don't learn, you're going to fall behind. So I think it's like you always, in a way, have to have the mentality of like, well, I don't know it all. And yeah, I want to put myself in a room where I feel like I don't know much, because then you're going to sit back and actually learn from everybody who knows what's going on now. And you can start absorbing that information for yourself, for your clients, and for, your audience, anybody else out there that can use it. So for me, that's the mentality I feel like most people need to carry if they want to be successful.
Yeah. Now, most of your clients growing up growing up in the industry, right? They're all general population, or do you work with any specialty?
So at the beginning, going through my Bally's, starting there and then rolling over into LA Fitness, I worked with a lot of general pop. Now, there was a moment where I did have one athlete I started with towards the end of my LA Fitness career. And it was more of like just a lucky situation, being at the right place at the right time. And it was a wide receiver that had played in the NFL. So I got that opportunity. It was really fun, really cool. I also had a manager at the time that was teaching me a lot about sports training, sports performance, because that was his background. So I was learning a lot from him, and I was able to translate that and take that information and work with that athlete. So that was my first athlete. And then going from there, I jumped into going to what's called Equinox Academy, learned through there a lot, and then started working for Equinox. And there I was able to start becoming more of a specialist, and I really dove into the unconventional style of training, unorthodox. I really loved it. Everything had to do with movement, corrective. I loved that realm. I just loved what it did for people. I loved the results it got people. And most importantly, me trying it for myself. I love the results it got me, so then I can go and show people how to do that. It just changed my life, and I really dove into that heavily, working with a lot of people's pains, old injuries, limited ranges of motion, not being great movers, and putting them to become way better movers than they were before, so they can just do the everyday life stuff. So in that spectrum, I did work with a lot of general population, and and then within there, I did get the opportunity to get to work with some more athletes and a few celebrities and stuff like that. But I would say on the volume side of things, I worked with a lot of more general pop, and I did see a lot of like special cases amongst the general pop. So I did get to work with a lot of people who had like back issues, knee issues, a lot of people who had old injuries, like I'm mentioning. So a lot of people who needed that kind of treatment.
It's incredible how we're very similar but still opposite. For those watching, it's also very important to understand that you can start, I'll explain like my background really quickly and see how you could end up very similar places just with that thirst for knowledge. So I started as an athletic training major. Injuries, injury care, evaluation, on-field emergency care, treatment, rehab. And then I had the question, what happens after rehab but before peak performance? And there's that gap that I wanted to fill. So that's how I ended up in sports performance coaching, but I was very valuable having the injury background first. Even though I never worked in a high school as a certified athletic trainer, I always maintained that continuing education and certification, and it made me more valuable as a trainer which I think is hard for the general population to understand when you're coming from NFL athletes, combine prep, all the things that I was blessed to be able to do very early on. Like by 23, I had like 5 NFL clients. So it was one of those things where I'm like, oh my goodness, like, okay. You know, going the other way now, I actually had to learn how to adjust to the general population because I'm used to high pressure, you know, strength and conditioning environments where you have to deliver results because, you know, they're on national television and there's contracts and there's money and you got to win and this and that, to like, okay, well, maybe this person doesn't really have that goal. Maybe they're okay with not listening to you for 8 weeks of their 12-week plan and then still getting mad at themselves. And it's been, even at this stage in my career, an emotional struggle sometimes to be like, I just want success for this person.
Yeah.
But when you start with, no insult to anybody, but like lower hanging fruit where like small successes are major, it's got to be very satisfying. But when you come from high pressure, I really had to learn like, okay, I'm learning how to go this way and dumb down my expectations to really create small wins for people or opportunities for small wins. Whereas now you've done the opposite where you're able to now handle more education with special populations, like you said, back injuries and stuff like that. That is a real reality with our population. Because what you've probably seen over the years, same as me, regular people, sedentary, desk or driving ridden, you know, seated for the most part. The same kind of compensatory patterns. And then I think where I came in, where you were in your phase of your career, was seeing all of like the animal flow and the kettlebell and didn't you do like steel mace and all of that stuff too?
Steel mace, animal flow, kettlebells, sandbag ropes, a lot of other body weight.
That's what I would see 4 years ago on Instagram,
workouts,
so I know where I came in on the timeline. So how, now that we are 4 years later, we went through a lot as like a world, right, with COVID and then the digital age becoming even more of an option for trainers to take their business online. So when you look at like your clientele that you used to have and the schedule you used to have, I'm sure it was like 10, 12-hour days plus, right?
Oh, for sure.
In session, to now going more digital and then consulting other professionals who want to go digital. What's like a huge takeaway or big learn over the last like 3-4 years? Because I think when I met you, you were still doing a lot of in-person.
So I was doing half and half. So I was doing part in-person, part online already. So this was once I left Equinox. I had gone independent, and then I took a lot of my clients with me. And then from there also, too, I had tested trying to launch my first program, and it flopped. So
how did it flop?
I just stopped because, okay, I think at that time I had like 90 to 100,000 followers. I said, okay, great, I'm going to post that I'm announcing that I have a program. I thought everybody was just going to flock in and be like, woohoo, I'm going to take your program. And little did I know, I was like, I only had one client purchase. And it was a client who I used to work with in person who said, oh, I'll invest in your online program. So it wasn't even like somebody I cultivated from my social media. And I was like, what happened? And then I sat there and I had to peel the layers back and realize there's a lot more when it comes to going online, building online business, building an online presence, and actually turning it into a business. A lot of people think that you can just go in there with a following and just post and woohoo. For most people, no. Like a lot of people will see, oh, these big influencers or these big fitness enthusiasts or these big fitness coaches, celebrity coaches, you know, they post and everybody goes crazy. But you got to keep in mind, that's 1% of that group. How about the 99% of other trainers and coaches out there who are battling for attention on social media, who are battling to be seen, who are constantly trying to work with more people? Well, guess what? If you're not at that 1%, your tactics have to be different than the 1%. So the way you strategize, the way you build your online business is not going to be the same way that those celebrities and those people do it. They're playing a very heavy volume game while you're not. So if you don't change your strategy, you're not going to have a successful online business. And that's where a lot of people fail, or they want what's this, knowing that what their current reality is not this. And I'm not saying you can eventually get to that.
Right.
And again, not all of you are going to get to that, which it's facts. But you can still do very well, make a lot of money without having to follow that model or trying to fight to get to that model. And if you get to it, great. But if you don't, it's okay. There's a solution. And that's where I really figured out, and I started studying, I started researching. And the first thing for me, I realized, well, you know, I didn't even know who my audience was. Like, I didn't really dissect, like, who am I serving? Who am I going to help? Like, I just like, okay, I have followers. Great. I thought I was just going to help everybody. And I quickly realized, wait, if you try serving everybody, you don't serve anybody. And that was the biggest hit for me. And I had to really figure out and dissect how to identify and create my ideal avatar, because I had no avatar. And now for me, that was my first big eye opener of like, now I'm starting to peel the layers. Now I'm starting to realize there's more than just posting something and hoping that your following is going to be receptive to it. No, there's layers to this.
Yeah.
And that's how I started creating my system. It started with that, which I can dive into a little bit more throughout our convo, but it started with that. It started with realizing that. And then from there, I quickly started expanding my system, which is my 5-step method. And I was able to start creating that. And once I created it for myself and created the success for myself, then there was a point in time where I said, wait, I want to start doing this for other people. I want to start helping other people, because I always knew deep down, as much as I love fitness, as much as I like personal training, I always knew that I was meant to do more than that. Not that I was, because I'm better, because of this. No, just for me personally, I just knew I was meant to do more than just a personal training. But I've always loved the health and fitness. So that's where I decided to say, hey, if I learned how to do this for me and I'm creating success for myself, I was able to generate 6 figures or more doing this as an online fitness coach. Why can't I teach others how to do it? And that's where once I figured out that method, then I jumped over and I started teaching it to other people.
So I want to go into that 5-step system in a second, but I want to pause right where you said the avatar. At that point, when you had this realization and you decided, I need to figure this out, when you took the steps to figure that out, at that point, because now it might have changed a couple years later, what is the description of the avatar that you identified at that time?
Yeah. So
like
for
type of person, da, da, da.
Definitely. So for me, what I figured out, and I'll kind of give you my tagline, but for me was I wanted to help busy professionals who wanted to lose 15 pounds in 90 days with little to no fitness equipment. So that was my audience that I was reaching.
And is that the first avatar that actually made you recurring revenue in a successful program that you could roll out, or was that the first of many revisions?
So that tagline changed, I want to say 2-3 times, but I still had the same avatar in mind. I just didn't have the exact messaging down packed yet. So I had the same avatar, I just had to perfect my message. That was my final message tagline. As far as how I was speaking out to people, that was how I was gravitating to them. That's how I was able to get them to gravitate towards me. Okay. And I came down to that tagline because I was like, okay, who would I want to help? Who I've always been helping. I work really well with professionals. I wanted to work with people who are making easily over $100K a year. Like, that was the people I wanted to work with. And most of the people who I work with who are professionals, they're busy. So when it comes to busy individual, most of them, and most of the people that come to me, I did my little research, and clients that I've worked with, they're always telling me, I need to lose 10 to 15 pounds. I need to lose 10 to 15 pounds. And let's do the math, like healthy wise, like a lot of people tell you, oh, you can lose 30 pounds in next month. Bullshit. No, you're not losing 30. Healthy wise, we all know how much to be healthy, how many pounds you need to be losing weekly. So when I said, okay, in 90 days, it is healthy to lose 15 pounds in 90 days. And that's a realistic goal you can achieve, and it's the healthy way to do it. So I stuck to that number, and I said 90 days because a 90-day program is a good length of a program to be able to see a lot of the results, get the results, and then also progress somebody into another program. So that's where I came up with that. And then I said little to no fitness equipment because that was my style. My style of helping people was with little to no fitness equipment. So a lot of body weight or the unconventional tools, which is just 1 or 2 tools, like the kettlebells or the steel maces or the ropes. And then a lot of it was body weight. So I didn't need machines. I didn't need much stuff going on. And that's how I can help you achieve those goals. And for a busy individual, it's like in and out. And we can, for them, they don't have to be in a gym. You know what I mean? They could do it from home. And if they do go to the gym, they don't have to worry about, oh my God, that person's on the machine. I'm limited on time. I'm a busy individual. I got to hurry up. Guess what? No, you can stick yourself in a corner. All you need is like, office. That's it. A little square footage of space. Grab your 1 or 2 tools or your body and let's get you moving. And now with my online program, I can help you do that. Or you can do it from home. Yeah. So I'm solving the problems that they have. Not only their fitness problem, but the fact that they're busy. They need something that's going to help them to achieve their goals quicker, something that's not going to be able to, make them waste time. And I did that, and they're getting to lose their 15 pounds. So I had to really dissect that group of people that I was going to work with, and I was able to provide that result. So that's where it starts with. And a lot of coaches and trainers, I did the mistake where we want to help everybody. We're not meant to help everybody, and we don't need to help everybody. Because if you do, again, you're not going to serve anybody, because you're so worried about how can I help this friend, and we're not meant to help every single person, because we don't have all the tools and all the specialties and all the answers for every person. Let's find the person that we can help, and also it reflects on what you know a lot about. What do you know a lot about? What do you enjoy doing? What makes you happy? And going after that. And then also seeing where's the gap you can fill. What's the solution you have to that problem for that person? And then we keep going from there. And then as you build your avatar, like, you know, what I call my first step, the 6-figure Fit Pro assessment. That's what I call my identifying, creating ideal avatar. Once you go through that, it's a deep analysis of like, what's your avatar's likes? What are their dislikes? Obviously, how much they're making. What is their gender? What do they like to do for fun? What is their occupations? What don't they like to do? What do they disagree with in life? What do they agree with? What bothers them at night? Like, it's a very deep, and this goes way deeper than that, but it's a very deep analysis of really understanding who this person is, because then you can go, okay, now I know this person. I know everything about them, their morals, their values, including that, everything I mentioned. I know where they're hanging out. I know where to find them. I know what they like. I know what they don't like. I know who they're hanging around with. I know what locations they're at. I know I know where I can find them on social media, what groups. Now you know everything about your avatar. So you have a clear direction of where to start with, and you have a clear direction of who you're here to serve, without worrying like, oh my God, I don't know where my next lead is going to come from. No, your next lead is over here. Go focus over here. Your efforts, your energy, your lead gen needs to be over here, because that's where your avatars are hanging out with.
Now, this I think is a really important question in case fitness professionals up and coming desiring to do this are watching, because especially even myself, like I've probably refined my avatar 1,600 times, and then I realized when I got the avatar that I wanted, I'm like, oh my God, this is so difficult, because in theory, until you identify all of those points, you might be barking up a tree where these details you still have to deal with, because
100%.
you didn't think like, okay, I work with busy entrepreneurs that need to conquer nutrition and blah, 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 blah. Which is going to lead me to another question, so don't let me forget the follow-up question. Conquer nutrition is what percentage of your avatar's success, right? Conquer nutrition is a beast of itself, aside from getting moving. And so knowing that I do work with busy professionals that want to conquer nutrition, there is sometimes, like with a particular individual I'm working with now, 8 weeks goes by and we're still rehashing the same problems. That's like me redefining my avatar 8 times working with a fitness business coach. They got to be sitting there like this, like just pick one, as opposed to saying like, okay, the client that's not eating what they're supposed to eat, and they keep rediscovering the same learning lessons of what they're eating that's bad for them because they don't feel that good on it, the things that got them success, and it's like, oh my gosh, when's it going to click? And I'm pretty sure as a mentor to fitness professionals, you might be going through this when you help them just with this very foundational step of identifying their avatar, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm assuming yes, because I've been doing this for 4 years now online. I'm like, oh my God, I don't like this. I want to change my avatar. Now I want women. Now I want men. And it's like, it's how much fear do you have from trainers that hire you as a mentor to let go of what doesn't serve them, and they're afraid they're going to miss out on money, clients, by not niching down.
This is a very common thing. And here's the thing. I always say you have to start with a niche, a precise individual that's very specific. And then once you master and you grow that and you take your business to another level, you can start broadening yourself out a little bit. Right? You look at how businesses grow. Most businesses, when they start, what do they start with? Serving a specific, very specific person. And then what do they do when they actually become a big company? They can serve more people. So you have to understand that you have to start with the niche, and then slowly after a few years of you mastering that, you can then open up your gates, because now you understand how things work. And now you understand, wait, there is room to help other people, and I can change this a little bit. And then even with your own niche, like I tell a lot of the trainers and coaches I work with, don't make it harder than what it is. Let's identify who it is, put it down, and then start with what we have. and we can make tweaks and changes along the way. Along the way, you might even realize, wait, my avatar might be something completely different. That is okay. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's just the starting. I think a lot of it has to do with getting your mindset in a place that you have to just begin.
And how do you deal with their fear of letting go? Because they think, like I have a fitness business mentor, and he's like, don't be a whore trainer. You can't serve everybody. And he has some funny analogies that he uses, but he's like, no, it's not like love you long time, daddy, and serve everyone. It's narrow down and be very specific to who. Otherwise, you serve no one. Exactly what you said. But what do you say to someone that hires you as a mentor and they're like, well, I just can't figure it out, or I have this skill, so I don't want to pick this because I'm afraid I'm going to lose this. I feel like that's a common thing with fitness trainers that have studied so much, and they feel like they're being a traitor to their education if they pick one lane. Some people are excellent at being the booty person.
Yeah. And you got to be okay. Here's the biggest thing. It's a mindset thing. So when anybody that you work with in any industry, and obviously in the fitness industry, we're talking about that, the mindset has to be intact. And that's why when I work through my program, everything starts with the mindset, building a bulletproof mindset. You have to build a bulletproof mindset. You need to have the clarity. You need to see where you're going. You need to understand, what your mindset problems are, what the mindset principles are to be able to counteract those mindset problems, and then understand what are your triggers, what's triggering you to feel this way, why are you feeling this way, what is causing that, what is your reaction towards that, what is a solution to control those triggers, and then understanding that every time you grow there has to be a stronger mindset, because what happens is, and I put in this best way to explain it, but there's a staircase, right? And every stairwell you climb, there's a floor, right? So every floor, let's just use money, for example. So let's say every floor represents a different dollar value. So my favorite way to explain it is using this analogy or using this method. It's called the staircase, analogy. So the way it works is that, think about it. When you're climbing stairs, every staircase that you climb, there's a floor, right? Look at every floor as a different level. So you're getting to the first one, and I'm going to use money as the way I'm going to explain this, because I think that every time somebody makes more money, you have to have a stronger mindset, which is true. So, for example, first staircase, let's say the first level you get to climbing up the stairs, $10,000. Second one, 20. Let's go all the way to 50. So when you climb your first one, you hit that 10, it's exciting. Oh my God, I'm making 10K a month. Boom. When you start climbing again and you hit the second one, guess what happens? Your same fears, your same belief systems that have been engraved in you since your childhood, those traumas, all those experiences, everything you've gone through will present itself at that new stairwell level. Because that is a different level that you've never hit before. And you don't know how to respond because you've never either, number one, made that much money. Number two, now you're like, how do I keep making that money again? Because you've never made it multiple times. You've only made it once. So now you're always like, how do you even keep making this? And then what do I even do with this? And this happens a lot. So every time you climb up the stairs, you hit a different level, you have to have a stronger mindset. If you don't have a stronger mindset than the one before, your same fears, doubts, belief systems, everything will creep up and climb back up. The same exact ones. The same ones that were affecting you before you made 10K to when you were making 10K to when you were making 20, 30, the same ones appear themselves. And this is what I tell people, this is all mindset issues, mindset problems that we have. And this is coming from our past and our experiences and our traumas. And a lot of times people don't realize it's the same ones. It's the same exact ones that creep up all the time. So if your mindset is not prepared and you don't understand the right mindset principles, you don't understand how to be the best manager of your mindset problems, you're not going to be able to win long term. And I say the best manager and the person that can best control your problems, because here's the thing, they're always going to come back, just like I mentioned. Because every time you grow in life, every time you level up, your same doubts, fears, beliefs, everything will come back because they're embedded. It's in our DNA. Along the way, do we learn how to manage them better? 100%. Do we learn how to cope with them better? 100%. We start learning what triggers them, what triggers us, how to deal with them. We learn also as well how to be able to understand that this is something that doesn't exist. we're creating this to exist in our life right now because of what happened before. But what happened before doesn't exist anymore. But because whatever triggered it, it's coming back. So we have to be the best managers at managing this. Not thinking like, oh, I have to learn how to eliminate this from my life. It's not going to eliminate from your life. It's there forever. Like everything that you've gone through, it's there forever. You have to accept it. What I've gone through, what you've gone through, it's always going to be there. And it will always present itself somewhere in your life as you grow and it's challenging your mindset. So you have to learn, again, to be the best manager at managing that. And the person who's the best manager ends up winning the longest. And that's why when you see these people who are successful, it's not because, oh, they don't have mindset problems. They all have freaking mindset problems. They all do.
We're all nuts.
They just know how to control them better than you do. And they know how to manage them, and they know how to crush them faster than you do when they present themselves. So I call it flipping the switch. So when you learn how to flip the switch, you're going to be able to manage yourself and those mindset problems faster than anybody else. And that's why those people win. But they have them. We just have to learn to manage them. And you see that a lot, especially, I'm saying because we're focused on the fitness industry, but you do see it a lot in the fitness industry, in the coaching industry, where a lot of people will bring these and carry these along, and their worries and their doubts and the this and the comparison and, you know, the perfectionism and the Imposter Syndrome, and my favorite one, the infobesity, you know, which for those who don't know, but I call infobesity information overload, information retention. People who take information, they want more information, they need more information, and they keep overloading themselves to the point where I call it infobesity, that they don't do anything with the information.
I know.
Because they feel like they need more to get started. And I think that's one of the worst. So all these things are part of the mindset problems. And that's why it's so important to understand all these other things to combat that, because every level you obtain and grow, you need a stronger mindset.
You're making me feel really sane right now, because I was running some like Facebook challenges with pretty much like warm market people, and I brought up that very same point to them. I was like, some of you guys, I'm calling you out right now, you're challenge hoppers. You will never go all in on something, and you're just going to take all this information, sort of kind of look at it, and not really apply it. And this information is abundant in the coaching space as well for fitness trainers that want to learn more about business, which is a huge topic. We could probably do like a week-long series on that. But I said, you know, do you realize that business and fitness is the same thing? And when I was creating my pillars for my business as part of this challenge, I'm like, you know what? These are pillars for the challenge, but this is the pillars of how I run my business and how I take people through this process. And I used a pyramid rather than like, you know, the staircase. But I was like, yo, your mindset is the first. Then there's nutrition, because if you can't fix this, you can't out-train a poor diet. So the nutrition really has to be addressed first. Once your mindset is set on the goal, then the training obviously creates more of a deficit. It strengthens your body, creates shape, yada, yada, yada. Then there's the accountability. I'm like, can you be self-accountable, or do you need someone? And then the final point of the pyramid, I'm like, well, we got to go back to mindset. So it's about setting future goals, and that's like your staircase. Every time you got to that next floor, when you're talking about income brackets, it's the same as weight loss. I had a client say to me, wow, like I was in the gym the other day and I saw these other girls, and my knee-jerk reaction trigger was, wow, they look better than me. She's like, but I don't, because I have shoulder caps and my obliques are coming out. And it was weird that I saw these two girls that I normally old me would say, they look better than me, what am I doing? And then she's looking in the mirror like, no, that's not true. So it's like, well, that's because we've passed that threshold. Now we got to go back to the bottom of the pyramid, and now this is a new level of dieting, perhaps. It's a new level of training and progression. And so I just feel like it's this pyramid that keeps going like your staircase. And I just want to point that out to people who are not fitness trainers, but people who might be watching that are fitness enthusiasts looking to pursue goals. It's the same thing. So when I decided, you know what? I worked with high-level athletes. I can work with entrepreneurs, because everybody knows how to build something that they're passionate about. Let's take that same energy and focus to your fitness journey. It's interesting how incredibly hard it is for some people. When I had the conversation with Gary Vee, he's like, I did the opposite. He's like, I only got into fitness 10 years ago. I had like not one muscle in my body. And, you know, he built his millions, but he's like, I could take that work ethic and apply it to fitness. He's like, you did the opposite. And it was so interesting to me. I've had some friends and mentors that said, look what you've done to get to the stage, the amount of sacrifice. If you took a percentage of that and put that in business, there's no way you could lose. 100%. Like, what are you doing? So I feel like this is such a great parallel, and also a nice segue into helping people bridge that gap. So, for example, if you were to say, I don't know, I'm picking any number because I don't know the exact number. Let's just say you worked with 50 trainers. And of all of the trainers that you've consulted with that said, you know what, I want your help, is there any common theme in triggers or limiting beliefs that pop up, or is it just, no, it's all custom and everybody's individual?
So I would say, obviously you're always going to have, every individual has their thing, right? Their different thing. But I think amongst, if you want to pick a common thing amongst, I would say in the fitness industry specifically, I think one of the biggest things that a lot of the fitness coaches, when they go, and I'm talking about coaches who are newly going online. So I think you have to also understand that it depends on if you're a trainer who's already been online and is trying to figure it out, has been online, but they haven't really hit their numbers and they're like stuck and they're like, okay, I need to hire you. And then there's the trainers I've never gone online. And a lot of the trainers have never gone online. A lot of them, they have the imposter syndrome where it's like, oh my God, but what if I don't know what I'm doing if I go online? This is different. A lot of them have that issue where they feel like they're frauds when they go online, which is common when they're new to going into online training. That's the commonality amongst that group. Now, I want to say on the group that maybe they've been doing online for a little bit, they haven't really tapped into it hard. They've only made maybe like a few $100 to $1,000 a month off of it. Nothing really, big, and they're just trying to really break through and they're so frustrated they hire you. I would say the commonality as far as that group is you'll see a lot of them is being skeptical that this even works. Skeptical that they can actually make this into a career because they couldn't figure it out themselves.
Do you think that's more operational, like really setting up their business to be systematized and sustainable, as opposed to, I know what I know, I just, have never shown up online before? Like, it's a different problem to have, right?
Yeah, I would say for those is more of like they might be coming in here. They're confident that they know what they're doing as a trainer, but they're not confident that their actual business can actually become successful. So they lack that confidence, or they lack that knowing that, hey, I can turn this into this. Why? Because they just don't have the right tools in place. They don't have the right person to help them or the right team. They don't have the right stuff, and they keep bashing themselves trying to figure it out on their own. And we can't figure shit out on our own always. We have to ask for help.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest amongst that group. What I've seen as a common, mental mindset problem has been that, for that group. And then on the other group, again, it was more the imposter syndrome, not feeling that they know enough or they're good enough to go online, or they're fearing like they're going to be a fraud. You know what I mean? Like, how is it that I was doing this in person? I'm going on over here and I'm only delivering this. I feel like a fraud. So a lot of people will have that who are new trainers coming in for the first time. And then you have this. So I have to categorize it like that because there is two different ones. You know what I mean?
No, I like that analogy of the two, because I, like, when I came into online coaching, so what was it, 2018? When I moved here and I realized I really don't want to be in a facility anymore. I wanted to do my own thing. And with much freedom that you want comes a lot of expectations and discipline that you have to execute things. And sometimes, like, I've found very transparently, if any of you guys are watching and you're trying to go through the same thing, there are times I threw my hands in the air. I was like, I have to wear 17 hats. I can't physically do this in a day. And then you figure out how to gain the capital, loans, whatever, to hire who you need to hire or whatever. And that's where I think trainers going online don't really understand how to leverage like business credit and things like that, or build a business to have spending power to invest if they don't already have a nest egg. So you see a lot of people starting small early, which is the way to grow. And it's great. Like if you're 19 in your parents' basement, put out the content, do what you need to do, get the education. But I was sitting here thinking, no, there's moments where I threw my hand in. Wait a minute. I've been a Gatorade sponsored speaker on national stages for collegiate athletes that were like lining up to talk to me about why my program worked the year that we won championships, to I can't figure this online thing out. Like, it's a completely different beast. So part of me, it wasn't like imposter syndrome, but it was like really like, I cannot believe this. I just wasted X amount of years learning shit that nobody cares about because I'm in a completely different environment. And I think that's another thing that maybe they need to learn. Online is a completely different system of how you show yourself to the world, because when you are in a place where you are the big cheese and that little microcosm loves you and what you do for them, and you have opportunity to speak, that's still only one facet of the industry.
100%.
Nobody in the general population in the internet space knew me as a strength coach at Purdue University or NSCA speaker, right? Nobody knew that. But then those people don't really recognize me as an online coach because I was just that coach that was kind of hanging out, like doing this in the weight room and taking teams, following their schedule. So it's like, I empathize with both sides because you can see some people being very successful with minimal knowledge, but a lot of resourcefulness and drive without the imposter syndrome when they theoretically probably should have it. And then there's people that are highly credentialed that are like, shit, what do I do? So when you look at your 5-step system, and like, what is the first thing somebody let's just say I'm 18. I'm like, this sounds cool. Everybody's doing online training. And part of me is like, you don't even know what half of the 17 different hats. What's like the first thing that's going to get them instant leverage, I guess, to say like they feel credible, they get moving in the right direction, even though they may not have the expertise, the funds, or the help to do the 17 hats thing.
For sure. So for me, I look at it as a vetting process. I work with a certain group of people. I like to pick and choose with my team the type of people we want to work with. And I came to a point now in my business where it's like, I really want to see where you're at in your career. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to set you up. I don't want to set you up to fail. I want to set you up to succeed. And I want to make sure that you're delivering good value to people. So for me, when I look for a coach, like if you're 18 years old, this is your first time training ever in your life. I'm probably going to be on a conversation, on a sales call with you and be like, hey, look, I really don't feel like you're a fit right now for my program. You'll probably be for later. I think you should go work for a gym, get some experience working with some in person. And while you're doing that, start learning the online. Here's some free resources I have. Join my free community so you can start learning how the online world works. Go learn how to work with some people. Go learn how to talk. Go learn how to communicate. Go make mistakes. Go learn how to even train. Go learn different workout regimens, different routines, how to program. Go learn all that stuff first. If you're just a brand new certified trainer, go learn that first and then come back. You got time. The beauty with you is you have time on your side. You got the whole youth on your side.
So now what if you have someone who's like 50 and they're like, you know what? I've been training for 30 years. I am exhausted. I'm not doing the 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. thing, but the internet is foreign to me. Instagram, I have 300 followers, and I'm just like the old guy. How do you approach that person?
So for me, here's the thing. It's funny that you brought that up. So for my avatar, I typically, and again, there's probably coaches out there that do, but for me personally, I don't work with anybody that's past 45.
Okay.
Why? For me, what I've came to, I find it becomes more of a frustrating headache. And I'm sorry for anybody out there. I'm not saying that you necessarily might be a 50-year-old trainer.
Well, it's the old dog, new tricks, right?
But here's the thing. What I've come to is on the common spectrum, what I've seen with a lot of people who are past 50 who are trainers. And I'm going to go back because it is actually going to go back to another thing that I found common amongst trainers in the fitness industry. I've had it before, and something that people need to really realize is fitness has a lot of ego. Fitness has a fucking ton of ego. So you need to realize is that you have to lower your ego and you have to put that aside if you want to learn this game, because again, online is completely different than in person. Great. I've had people, they start to, but I used to do this and then I can, and I'm like, great. Everything you should do, I'm happy for you. Applaud, congrats, that's amazing. But guess what? You've never done this before. So you have to realize that, you're going to have to do the dirty work, because I've had people tell me before, but that's below me. I shouldn't be doing X, Y, and Z. I'm like, whoa, what's below you? Because this is a whole nother world. So you got to do this. You have to learn that. You have to get to here so you can get to this level in your online business. Because the same way that you're saying this is below you, guess what? At one point in your in-person training coaching career, you had to do X, Y, and Z, which you might view as below you, in order to get to where you're at right now. And I applaud you. You're training celebs. You've been flowing out over here. But guess what? You don't know how to do this.
I love it that you can check the ego in a kind way, because when I first moved here and I was consulting with someone I was going to work for and work with, basically said to me, doesn't matter. Whatever you did up to this point doesn't matter. Now, educationally and confidence-wise, I guess it does. But it's saying, this is Miami Beach. Nobody knows you here. Nobody really cares about college sports because it's a different environment down here, right? I was in an area where that was the only thing going. Yeah. It's a college town. Closest two cities were an hour and 2 hours away. So that was a big deal on Sundays or whatever day it was that we had games. And when you get into a big city, there's so many options, so many sports. And I grew up in Philadelphia, so I understood, you have all these sports teams around you. You're really a small fish in a big pond. Mm-hmm. To go back to being a small fish in a big pond, it's like, who the hell you think you are? So the ego thing had to be dropped a lot. And I think it's a huge thing to say, like kindly, we need to check your ego.
100%.
In order for you to be successful in my program, you need to check your ego and realize that it's like if I wanted to become a chef, do you think that these master chefs didn't start in the kitchen washing dishes and then learning how to cook, and then now they own their restaurant and maybe they have a transformation restaurant TV show that Robert Irvine did, right? Like if you don't become Robert Irvine just by popping up one day and being a chef.
You got to pay your dues. You got to earn your stripes. And it goes back to when I was saying, like, the reason why I put my age group around 45 capped is because I realized me when I first started getting on all the calls, and then now that my team gets on the calls, I want to make it easier for them, because for me, I quickly realized how frustrating it is to sit down and try to, number one, explain to some of these, trainers who have never even Zoomed, and it's nothing against them. I've given them tools. Hey, go learn here how to use Zoom. Go learn here how to do that, because they get very frustrated. I don't know how to do this. I don't like the online. And I said, I can't work with somebody like that. You know what I mean? So I rather you go learn how to do the basic stuff on your own first, because I'm not here to teach you how to turn on a Zoom or teach you how to the basic functionalities of Instagram. You need to have an understanding already, some kind of knowledge coming of social media is important, and also not being rigid, because a lot of them will come, oh, but I don't want to do anything with social media. So when you come with a closed mindset of because you've only known one thing for a long time, and you have a hard time working with technology, you've never used a Zoom before, you've never even used a laptop. Some of these people, I've never really used a laptop. So I can't work with that.
Pen and
to
paper.
Me, my job is not to, number one, convince somebody out of what they're used to. I can make people realize why they need it if they're open to it, but I can't convince you. My job is not to convince you. And if you're stuck on your ways, I don't want to have to deal with that. So I've dealt with it where because sure, I can maneuver my way and can get somebody to buy in and invest in me. I've done it before at the beginning where I was trying to grow my business, and I brought two people who were out of my age group, and it was a headache. It was a freaking headache. And I said, I'm not doing this again. To deal with that, and that's why I put that cap, because I realized that after that, around that age group, after 45 going to 50, there's just a lot of variables in the way, a lot of being out of touch with social media, being out of touch with technology. There's so many things, and I'm not saying that, don't get me wrong, there's a few out there that are doing it, they're doing it well, and they are open to it. But majority, for me personally, I don't want to deal with the majority of that age group that tends to be more on, more not being more against it, resistant to it. Yeah. You're not open to it. A lot of times too, I've had conversations where they'll be like, oh, but I've been in this career for 20 something plus years, and I've been in it longer than you have. And okay, great. I'm sure you have, and I'm sure you know a lot about exercise, a lot about fitness. I'm sure there's things that you know more than I do. But here's the thing: you've never done online. I've done online.
It's almost like you can walk into a basketball gym, but if you haven't shot the same number of free throws as Michael Jordan, you're not going to be better.
100%. So my whole thing is I put that age gap because I realized for me personally, and maybe for another business coaches maybe for them it works working with people 50 plus, great. But for me and my team, I realized this is the age group that makes sense. This is the age that we can help, that we communicate and we align with the most. And a reason why I'm bringing this up is because it goes back to you can't serve everybody. And you got to be very, very strong by that and hold yourself accountable to that, where you can't just do it because of the money. If somebody's not in your avatar checklist, they got to go. Or you got to push them somewhere else. And I don't say
I feel like I need to fire some clients
now. Not in a bad way, but
because it's mental sanity for you, right?
No, number one, less headaches, more money. Less headaches, more time. Less headaches, more freedom. Less headaches, better clients. Less headaches, better referrals. Less headache. I want less headaches. And here's the thing too, you're actually going to do them a favor, because by you bring them in just because of the money, I'll deal with it. Guess what? You're actually doing them an injustice. So if you want to be somebody who provides value, provide value to them by making them realize. And obviously, there's a way to tell people, but provide value to them by saying, hey, look, unfortunately, you're not a fit for my program. And I feel like you're going to do better over here, and guide them. I can still guide them because, hey, look, there's a person over here that works with this certain type of group of individuals that I feel you would be a good fit for. Let me connect you with them. And they're going to appreciate that. Guess what? The next time they have a friend who might be 40 years old or 35, they're going to be like, you know what? I had this guy who referred him over here, but I'm going to refer you to him because he actually works with your age group. So when you do that for people and you put them in a place where they're going to win, guess what? You're going to actually get more back. Just because you're not working with that person that was, for example, my case, 50 years old, doesn't mean I still can't get business out of them. They might refer me somebody who was in that age group. Somebody like, you know what? He helped me find the right person. I'm succeeding. I'm going to bring him my friend who's in that age group, who is that avatar. I'm going to bring it to that guy that connected me over here. That's how you have to see business. That's how you have to see life and do things, because when you do things the right way and you're strong with your core values, you will always win, and you will win long term. But when you start breaking your core values on what you said, I'm only willing to take X, Y, and Z, I'm only willing to this, and you start breaking off of that because, more money. Guess what? Long term, you're going to lose. More headaches, more problems, more issues. And that is one of the biggest reasons why I say you got to stick to your core values. You got to stick to your avatar. When you start moving away from that, that's when you start creating stress, problems for you. And then if you have a team, even for your team. And here's the thing, you create that for your team, you're not going to have a team for long.
Right, exactly.
So
it's keeping everybody happy.
Exactly. And that's why when you see the real successful companies, they're very strict on their core values. And I'm bringing this an example because I actually watched, I want to say about a month ago, I watched a video that Alex Homorzi, another entrepreneur, big fitness guy in the fitness space and marketing, but he did a video on Chick-fil-A. And I thought it was so interesting.
I think I saw that one.
So interesting the way he
explained closed on
it.
Sundays thing?
Yes. And why they were so good and why they blew up and why they're I believe the most profitable fast food chain restaurant.
Being closed one day
a
week
country.
and holidays, right?
Being closed on a Sunday and having the smallest menu of food versus all these other companies. But why? Because they never broke their values. Because they said from the beginning, we are closed on Sundays. And guess what? They knew they were losing a ton of money. But on the short term, sure, they were losing money. But on the long term, they're the most profitable because people realize they're not willing to break their values. And when you're not willing to break your values in your business and what you set for yourself, you're going to win long term. Because you're not willing to just get the breadcrumbs. Oh, let me get a little extra over here because it's going to make me more money now. No, I'm getting more money later. It's the same with your health, longevity. Don't train for the short term, train for the long term, right? Don't take all these, fad diets. Don't take all these
Clients
pills.
Don't want to hear
don't
that, but we're still right.
Yeah, do the work. Sure, you have a shoulder issue. You're going to have to do some mobility before you start lifting your heavy lifts. You can't just skip into the lifts because you're going to get hurt. And guess what? Now you shot yourself in the foot, and long term you're gonna have more problems. You're not gonna get to your goal that you had set out for yourself for 90 days or 60 or a year, because now you got hurt. Where you could have taken the measures you were supposed to take and stick to. So the same thing goes with anything, and that's where I've learned quickly. Is I made those mistakes, and I said, you gotta stick to your values. You gotta stick to your core. That's how you're gonna be successful, and it goes back to, again, you try serving everybody, you don't serve anybody.
Right.
And then you really don't, because now you're bringing all these headaches on instead of focusing on who you really want to work with. And you got to be okay with that. You can't change that for anybody. Can't change that for your business. You got to be okay with that. And obviously, as you grow in your business, tweaks will be made and things will, as you analyze your business directions you want to go. But when you're in there, your core values should never change.
And I think that's very valuable if someone has you as a mentor, to keep them in line with when you start to see whatever, whether it's content or daily habits or whatever, going against your core values. I saw a coach one time on Facebook talking about, when I restricted my client's schedule to stop working every day at 6 p.m., whoever made more money. Not a lot. I'm the worst with this. I could work all darn day because I'm like, well, I could always work on a program. I could always make a Facebook post, and I could always do this. And it's just like, no, you need a structure and a schedule to stay mentally sane. Otherwise, you're going to resent people and things. So I think everything has been so incredible, and that hopefully there are a lot of people that hear this and are like, wow, I need to really do some serious thinking. But let's just say, to wrap this up, because this will be a nice big bang closure, if you were to show an example of your 5-step system, for anyone listening, like, well, what are these 5 steps? Like, what would I get if I work with him?
For sure.
How do you summarize that?
So I'll go back to the first one, because we did talk about, the 6-figure Fit Pro assessment, which is identifying and creating your ideal avatar. The second one after that is the Fit Pro Business Builder. So what I realized in my business after I did the assessment, when I said I came up with my avatar, cool, I have it. Now I'm targeting the right people on social. And mind you, this is after I had done that post. It flopped. Remember that whole story? So now I did the assessment. I'm talking to the right people. Cool, I'm getting some traction. And I'm like, I'm going to be a fucking killer online. Next thing you know, I hit another wall. And I'm like, whoa, I'm not growing as fast as I thought. And I just had no order in place with what I was even offering. Like, this person would get this, I would charge this person that. Okay, just because I thought you were richer, I'm going to charge you this. Because I thought you didn't make as much money, I'm going to charge you this. Or because I had
trying to help everybody again.
Trying to help everybody again. And my offers were not aligned with my avatar. So what happened was I realized, okay, I have to fix this. My offerings need to be in place, and I can have a different offering for everybody. So that's where my Fit Pro Business Builder came in place, when I figured out I need to have my core offerings. And for my core offer was, I need to have my high ticket, my medium ticket, my low ticket, so that way these can support this one, right? And stick to those, not because, oh, I know I can charge this one a little bit more, let me bump it up, or this one I can charge. No, they have to stay true to you and stick to the number that's on there for each one. And then what are the deliverables? What are the features? What are the things in place for each one? What does this bring? What does this one bring? And what does that one bring? And understand that when you have your offerings, your high ticket is, when you make your high ticket, that's your premium. And then you peel things off away from your high ticket, makes your medium one. And then you peel things back from your medium ticket, makes your low ticket one. But the value's still the same. Mm-hmm. The value that you're getting is still the same. It's just more of like the attention you're getting with me. So when I realized how to create that, I started seeing clarity. And one of the things that hit me right away was, I remember I got a message from somebody who I was talking to after I jumped on a call with them, and I presented them my offerings and what I was going to help them with and what they were going to get. It was all over the place. And they told me, hey, look, to be honest, like, I'm just a little confused on what you're even offering me. Like, I just feel it's all over the place. Somebody messaged me that after I jumped on the call, and I was like, this is a problem. That's why I had to do this. And at the end of the day, a confused buyer doesn't buy.
Right.
So you have to be in alignment and intact. And then when I fixed that, I started seeing my sales go up. Because now when people were getting in front of me, it was boom, boom, and boom. That's it. They knew what they were getting. They knew the price. These are the deliverables of feature. And it was consistent always with every person I jumped on the call. It wasn't, this one's different, that one's different.
So this part is the business builder, so the second step.
Second step. After the fitness business builder, again, I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to start killing it. And then I hit another wall. And then this wall, I would say there was a time, I'll probably say a good time gap before figuring this one out. But what it was is my content wasn't 100%, again, aligned with my audience. So my content was more self-serving than me serving the community.
I fell into that trap
audience.
too.
And it's easy to do. Are you doing the content for you, or are you doing the content for your audience? And I had to quickly realize that. And when I figured that out, and that's where I came up with the Fit Pro marketing machine, my whole game changed. That's when I saw the first big bump in my business. And at that point, when I figured the strategies and the frameworks and everything that I had, the campaigns, the way I had to set everything up, my business just skyrocketed. Now I was getting an influx of people coming into my DMs and my content, my engagement, messaging me, wanting to work with me communicating with them. And then I had all the other stuff. So I was able to be moving.
So the marketing piece was step 4?
So that's step 3.
Step 3. Okay.
So
the avatar is step 1, the business builder is step 2, and the marketing machine is step 3.
Step 3. So now that I'm getting more of an influx of people, where before I was only getting a handful, now I'm getting a lot. So
you're like, I need a team.
So not even, here's the other issue. I wasn't even closing everybody, because what happens is when you bring in more people, guess what? You're bringing other personalities, you're bringing other types of objections. You're going to face more obstacles when you're dealing with more volume. Before I was only dealing with a handful, with the people I knew in my space, people who already existed on my platform.
So your closing rate is different.
People, my ratio dropped.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit, I thought I was a good closer. And I was like, whoa. And that's what I realized. And I started actually working with somebody. And around that time, I hired my first mentor. Between that time of the marketing and the sales, which is the next step, my sales machine. And I realized that I had to learn real sales. I had to learn how to be a good communicator. I learned how to speak to people. I had to learn how to handle objections. I had to learn, most importantly, how to be a coach before coaching. And that's the biggest mistake most people do, is that when they show up to a call, they don't show up as a coach. They show up as, I got to close this deal. And that's the biggest problem you can make. Coaching starts the moment you get on that call. You have to be a coach, because you are a coach. You're a walking coach every day. So the moment you get on the call, you're showing up powerfully and you're ready to coach. You don't start coaching when they pay you to solve the end problem, which is, let's say, weight loss, whatever it is. You're coaching the moment you get on that call, even if you're not getting paid for it. And that's very, very important to understand. Why? Because along that journey of that call, there are obstacles that you have to coach people through on that call. There are objections you'll be faced. There's mental hurdles that you have to help this person get over. So you are coaching them already, just in a different way. And you're helping them realize why they have to do X, Y, and Z so they can actually hit that end goal that they want to achieve. So you can actually solve the big problem that they have and coach them through that. But you have to coach them through their call first. So I realized I have to be a coach the moment on that call. When I realized that, and I learned how to handle those conversations and work with different people and different types of people and personalities, quickly changed the game. My ratio went from being a 10%, 20% closer to a 50, 70% closer. And now I can close the volume of people I was getting, which I was starting to make real money. And I was like, and consistent money.
And we've only gotten to step 4.
And this is step 4. So in step 4, the Fit Pro sales machine changed the game. That's where I saw another major bump in my business. And then again, I hit another rock. I hit another wall. And this was like, there was about a year gap in between this. I hit another wall where I was like, okay, cool, I'm making all this money, this and that. But guess what? The original reason why I wanted to do online was to create money, time, freedom.
Yeah.
Sure. Going online already started creating me time, more time on my hands. Cool. Learning about the sales machine and incorporating the marketing brought me more money, but I still didn't have freedom.
Because you were stuck coaching.
So I went back to square one. I went back to where now I was limited with the time again because my time changed. Sure, I had more time, but my time changed because I had to fill it up with different things. Because now I had to be the operator, the this, the that. So what I was trying to avoid came back to me. And then I was like, how the fuck do I get out of this? And I had to hire another coach. And that's where I realized the importance of building a team. And that's where I came out with my Fit Pro team machine.
I love this. And what I love as I'm following the journey, I'm like, I can literally see you like accomplishing something and then there's a wall. And then what's so organic about your journey is that you literally built this entire new business of consulting people like me and other trainers that don't have all the systems set yet. That like, it's just incredible to see that you've got this well-oiled machine now that you've proven through your own struggle that works. So if anybody's watching, this is an incredible insight into how you can start from nothing and build a business. But like myself, I got into it, guns blazing, made $3K in the first 3 weeks. And I'm like, holy crap, I don't even have a software yet or a program. I'm like, so how am I going to do this? And then you're constantly playing catch up. Whereas like you're really focusing initially on the foundation. So if someone came to you and said, hey, I got nothing. Well, okay, maybe there's a few steps that they have to take care of so that they can actually scale a little bit more seamlessly, learning from your journey and all of your stuff. So, oh my gosh, this is so mind-blowing, incredible.
And keep in mind, the reason why I'm so passionate about this and I really push it out there to help people is because this took me a few years to figure out.
Yeah, because like you said, 4 years ago, you were 50-50, right? Half in person. Yeah. So to grow this.
To grow from when I really got out of Equinox, my first year, I was a lot heavy focus with my in-person clients. And then I started getting into the online. So it took me a good, I want to say 3 years, 2.5 to 3 years to put this all together before starting to coach people. So what I learned in that time that I had to figure out, I teach it to you so you can be successful in 90 days. And start seeing that success already happening within the 90 days. So you have a full-fledged system running and operating because of that. So I bring that out because a lot of times, again, it goes back to the ego. We want to try to figure things out on our own. We want to be able to try to say, oh, I know how to do this, and I know how to do it, and I can do it because if he did, and great, I'm sure eventually we'll figure it out. But it might take you 3 years. Do you have 3 years to waste? Or do you want to be able to speed up your process? Because as entrepreneurs, Speed is what we want because speed is going to reward the success. And I want to be able to fail fast. Yeah. Because I want to be able to get to the result and I want to be able to work smarter. So I invest into coaches and professionals that I want to learn how doing things that I don't want to have to sit there and figure out. I want to learn it in 90 to 120 days. So I can already implement this and start seeing it be a massive effect into my business. So don't just look at it as like, oh, because I can figure it out. Sure, but it might take you some years. Or
it's
you
incredible.
Can invest speed up your process and do what you're good at. Work on your strengths, double and triple down on your strengths, and then get the help you need on your weaknesses, so that way you can now reinforce your business, actually start making money and the change that you want quicker in your life.
Because I think that'll show confidence, right? Like that, like once your clients start first making money, they're like, oh, this works.
Yeah.
And now they have more faith. And it's like, just like the client that loses their first 2 to 5 pounds. Now they believe that there's a system that can help them keep going. I just wanted to thank you so much for giving such great value, because
Anytime.
Anybody else that has been wanting to go into the online world, I don't think that AI or internet work or anything is going to go by the wayside anytime soon. This is the wave of the future. And where I got stuck is a lot of the walls that you had. I physically got stuck thinking, like, how do I do this all? Yeah. But to put it in an organized system and to have someone like you guide someone, it could definitely cut down that learning curve and increase your confidence. Just the way a coach says, okay, we're going to get you the first 2 pounds. Then we're going to get you the first 5 pounds. Then we're going to, increase your confidence with eating out. The same thing that we do in fitness. There's so many parallels between fitness and business, and I'm so grateful you had such great knowledge bombs today. Where can they find you if they want to follow and model the greatness?
Definitely. No, thank you so much. First of all, thank you for having me on here. It's an honor, and to be able to share as much value as I can with the audience, and also learn from you. And even before I drop anything of my of you coming connecting with me, which I actually love and I want you to do, I want to say something real quick. Don't hold yourself back from learning the new advancements in today's world. I've been diving in since the moment some of these AI tools have been coming out. I've been diving in heavily on these AI tools. Not because I want you to feel like, oh, now I have to be in fear that I will be replaced or that this is going to take over, but because you have to learn it. Because if you don't learn how to work with AI, you will get pushed out. Mm-hmm. Don't look at it as like you're going to get, AI is going to take over my job. Oh, AI is going to run no. Work with it. Learn how to use it. Learn how to talk to it. That's the most important thing. The biggest, most important skill that people need to learn now is how to be able to ask the right questions to the AI so they can get the right information back. Yeah. And the better that you can learn how to ask the better questions, the right questions, and learn the patterns of that, you're going to have the edge above anybody in the health and fitness field and in any industry. And I'll tell you right now, for any health and fitness professional, sure, it's going to be another thing you have to jump into. But guess what? I have to jump into it now and start learning it, because I want to start teaching my clients how to use this. And I've been teaching my clients how to start using ChatGPT, AI, integrated with the formulas and systems that I have. So that way they don't have to sit there and add their info into it and start playing with it. Now you can grab my formulas, embed them into ChatGPT, and just tell them, this is my avatar, this is my information, this is the point I want to get across, this is what I'm trying to help. ChatGPT will grab my formulas, integrate it with your information, and give you the result. Work smarter. Yeah. Work with the technology.
Huge key. I almost want to be 20 again and start my whole career over, because it's incredible what's available now. And I hope that today's hour with you teaches people that it sounds very overwhelming, and I dove in head first, and it still is sometimes overwhelming. But when you understand that you have so many incredible tools, and you could stay grounded and you could stay organized and structured and disciplined, especially at a young age. Like if I was 20 again, I wouldn't do half the stuff that I did back then. But I think that, the advantage I have now is I have 20 years of experience. Now it's relearning all of this stuff to a higher level, as you just said. So hopefully you're not overwhelmed. you know you have a resource to reach out to. So Mendez Fitness, right?
So on Instagram at Mendez Fitness is where I do most of my heavy communication with people. I'll tell you, about 85, 90% of the time you will hear from me. Sure, my team is involved in helping me. Usually if they're sending something personalized, I'm always responding, but most of the time it's me responding to it. I'm just being transparent. Around 85, 90% of the time it'll be me giving you a response. And then also as well, you can go check me out on YouTube, Mendez Fitness as well. I put a lot of free information there. And then also as well, if you want to connect with me on TikTok, Mendez Fitness, and probably those are the best platforms to start with. And then I would say most importantly, just to leave you guys off with just a little inspirational message is, if the world doesn't stop for you, why are you going to stop moving? If the world doesn't stop for you, why are you going to stop for the world? You got to keep moving. You got to keep being the action taker in your life, because the world will never stop for you. And if you stop for it, then you're going to fail. and you have to be the one moving all the way through. So keep moving, keep winning, keep succeeding, and I'm telling you, keep learning, because there's so much out there to learn, and we live in a fast-paced society. So take a step back, see where you want to go, see what you have to learn first, and don't be scared to start with one thing. Same thing on this podcast. Like I say in anything, take the one most important thing that stuck out to you, that golden nugget, start with that. Don't get overwhelmed and feel like you have to start with everything. Just grab the one thing that you feel like hits you, start with that, and then take those notes down and then go back to the other thing once you accomplish that.
Amazing. I feel like we could do like a series of this because there's so many more questions that I have. But thank you guys for watching. I hope you were on the edge of your seat the way I was, wanting the next nugget of knowledge. Please make sure to reach out to either one of us. If you need anything, Christina@ChristinaSpecos.com is a great place to reach me if you have any specific questions or need to be connected. Any future content that you want to see, any topics, and maybe we'll do a part 2. Thank you so much for tuning in, where you're going to get the No BS talk on fitness, business, and so many things getting you that 1% better every day.